You're watching the Tesla Life. Live today with your hosts, Mark Coughlin. Hello, everybody. Mark and Patrick are actually here. We jumped rooms at the last second, and it looks like they now need to refresh their browsers. There's Mark. All right, let's...
Okay, Patrick doesn't know.
Well, I said it on the air, so hopefully he's listening.
You didn't say. We were both sitting there going, when's he coming back?
And Mark's like, my tablet says we're going live.
Refresh.
If you couldn't tell, we had a little bit of technical difficulties at the last minute there. As I mentioned, here's Mark, and I'm Casey. Patrick will be here soon.
Well, Patrick's got to be notified, which I'm doing right now. Let's just...
I'll turn on my lights. The computer is not participating. There we go. Might only get one light, if any. That's weird. No lights today. They're not on the network. And they don't have a button.
All right. Well, as we wait for Patrick to join us, which should be a minute or so, we can talk a little bit about the head story today for the Tesla Life 349. Yeah. Date today is, of course, the 6th of March, already into March. And tonight, our lead story, which was part of the thumbnail, is all about Ford and how Ford has been the first. There's Patrick. Ford is the first that has jumped into the supercharger realm for Tesla and is going to start charging their cars. So the Lightning and the Mach-E now are available to pick up their adapters. And we've seen quite a few examples of those cars charging at select Tesla superchargers. Over 15,000 at this point. Have been allocated as spots that the Mach-E and the Lightning can charge at. And I was kind of shocked that there were that many adapters out there because, of course, you were supposed to start ordering them basically March the 1st. Some influencers, I believe, have received their chargers first, and they were out with videos right away. Some are dropping by the, it looks like a place that they were picking them up, like in Dearborn. They were actually picking them up at Ford headquarters. So that must have been just a select few. Most are going to receive it by courier or mail. So that's great news for some of these Ford people that have been waiting forever to be on a reliable charging network. So that's a plus for all of them for sure. But the
first with cars on the road in the program, because we can't forget Aptera. Without them, this probably wouldn't have even gone. But they don't have cars on the road yet.
They have nothing on the road, which is kind of disappointing. You thought that Aptera would be a little closer to production, even a small initial production, but that hasn't happened yet. So. Waiting on them, but Ford's first to the start line, and there's a lot of euphoria on the forums out there. People saying about how it's quick to charge. I looked up my neighborhood just with the Tesla app because the app is now changed. If you haven't noticed, you can go into the app and update it so that you can add a second EV, an outside EV, not even a Tesla, to your app. And it will display the superchargers around you that will support that vehicle. So I went in and indicated I had an F-150, and sure enough, the superchargers lit up in a different way. A number of them dropped off my map. Others stayed. And of course, one of the things that was pointed out early was that they have to be 250 kilowatt chargers in order to be part of the program. Tesla's old V2s, the 150s, they're not in the listing at all. So those are going to be unique just to Tesla vehicles, it looks like. And the 250s are the only ones that are going to be part of the alternate EV charging program.
The V2s are probably the ones most be willing to share. The reasoning for that is probably because the V2s can't communicate with CCS cars without a hardware upgrade, and doesn't make sense to put any hardware money into the V2s. Although it would be nice for slow chargers like the Bolt to be able to use those at their top speed. One thing that I found was kind of cool is that even though Tesla and Ford showed off using the Tesla app, you can actually just do plug and charge once you set your car up in the Tesla app, which makes it like a first-class experience. There's also a feature that we talked about that came first in Europe, where you get the basically the Tesla charging membership, and that does is it gives you the supercharging rates that you're used to as a regular Tesla customer. I say that specifically because if you have any of the free charging promotions, those don't count, and if for some reason you're being penalized, that doesn't count either. But if you don't subscribe to that, then you'll pay a non-Tesla rate for your electricity. There is an option, even if you don't have a non-Tesla car in the app, to subscribe. PSA. So don't do that, because it doesn't give you anything as a fully Tesla owner family to subscribe to that with no non-Tesla cars. So you save yourself, was it $12, $20 a month, something like that? And somebody did the math for us, and they said that it came out to, if you did one full charge of an F-150 Lightning from 20% to 80%, then you've paid for that month in savings if you were in one of the worst rate areas for the country. So like in Southern California.
So definitely, if you're planning on going on a trip and you're going to be relying on the network, certainly paying that membership for that month or two would be well worth your while. But exactly. I think it's about a 30% upcharge between.
It varies across the country. Yeah.
Okay. But
yeah. So if you're going to either fill up a large EV like the F-150, or if you're going to go on a multi-stop trip, then it's worth going for a month or two, or however many times you're going to be doing those. And it's just like all the other Tesla and Starlink subscriptions, where if you end it early, they'll run you through the end of the month, but you want to have it on before you take the trip.
Exactly. Yeah, before you start it. So yeah, that's interesting news. And of course, another bit of information that Tesla shared with us was about lining up the vehicles to charge. Tesla had indicated that it's okay to cross the line a little bit. So that was kind of an interesting. Yeah, that was kind of an interesting.
If you cross 2 lines or more, they highlight it in red. Don't do this.
Right. But they are acknowledging that cable lines are short, and based on it being the F-150 or the Mach-E, that there are certain situations that you're going to have to line up differently than what a Tesla car does, and they're acknowledging that people are going to be straddling lines going forward, especially as these Ford owners start to get used to them. And there's a variety of course, chargers. You have the ability, of course, with the Lightning, for example, that if there was an open stall beside the last supercharger, you could actually charge in another person's parking lot and plug it in and not take up a supercharger spot. But those type of things are going to have to be figured out by these Ford owners as they move along. We've had some reports of vehicles charging on one side, like the Fords are on one side and the Teslas are on the other side of the supercharger. So you got 8 or 12 stalls. They were lining it up so that that one extra space that had to be used could be used more effectively if you put all the Fords together compared to having them spaced in between the Teslas. So it's going to be interesting. I haven't heard of any fistfights yet. I haven't heard of anyone freaking out yet. But I can imagine that that may happen. We may have some short tempers, especially when we get to a place on the calendar where Thanksgiving or other times that the chargers are very congested. There definitely could be that, but it's interesting that that these vehicles are now going to have to contend with both sides, both Teslas, both Fords. And of course, we know that at the end of this month, there's going to be others joining. GM is already lined up to be the next that's coming online. And a few more immediately after GM. So it's a whole new world now.
It's looking for some reason like Rivian might actually be the next one admitted. I don't know if that's just because they were either able to get the adapters in more quickly, or they have less customers, or what the reasoning might be. But they've already started to issue their update to allow them onto superchargers, but they haven't started to ship out the adapters just yet. My friend Kyle Connor, he was in an event they were doing, and he decided to try to go to a supercharger that wasn't showing on the Ford map, and he got there and there was like an hour wait. And he said, I'm just going to go to the third-party one rather than try to plug in here. So that was one. It's not definitive yet, but that was something we had speculated on. Like, they don't show the full list, and even with their bump to 15,000, it didn't match the growth of the network. And so it's looking like Tesla was reserving some stations for themselves because they could tell from the analytics that this one's a little tight. There's no need to be sharing it anyway.
Like
comments on that post were like, yeah, why would you even try? This one's always busy.
And we've commented on that. When you get to some of those congested spots geographically, Southern California, Central California, Arizona, there are groupings of superchargers that are traditionally busy all the time. And that is going to be an issue going forward, certainly. We've seen, of course, Tesla expanding the supercharger network rapidly. There was a news release out just this week that indicated that they're basically now putting online a supercharger every hour.
Oh wow,
a supercharger stall. So that's a plus. And of course, hopefully, with some of the revenue that's going to be pulled in from this program, they'll be able to direct even more funds towards expanding the supercharger network. And these Ford and Chevy and Rivian owners will be contributing to push the network even bigger.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. It just started this week. We'll have to see how this progresses. It's going to be a learning curve for a number of people. But so far haven't heard a lot of negatives, which is great. But I wonder if people are grumbling under their breath at this point. If some people are grumbling, but
some people are. But is it enough to matter? Don't know yet.
And the other thing to consider as well is we're not doubling the amount of people that are going to be using the superchargers.
Right. We're talking about the other 40% of electric cars out there.
Exactly. Tesla basically has 60% of the market. So allowing, let's say 15 to 10% adding for Ford, not a lot. Not a lot when you consider the overall market already. So, and that's the other thing is that Tesla is doing this in stages, allowing different manufacturers to come online, and they are definitely watching the use case, how much is going on, how long these cars are looking to charge, and they're comparing it against their computer models to make sure that it's going as planned. If something goes awry quickly, if charge times are increased by a lot, they have the ability to slow it down somewhat if they wish to. So, and as Casey said, the numbers of 15,000, or initially it was 12,000, those numbers are in flux. So we'll have to see how that actually rolls out as the more and more manufacturers come online with this new ability.
Yeah. My friend Sergio was on with Elon and Jim Farley, and he asked Elon if they were able to determine how much the adapter would slow things down. And Elon said the adapter will not be the slow part of the system. So that was nice to hear, both as be charging alongside these folks, and as somebody who might, not me personally, but as somebody who might own one of these vehicles, to know that you're not going to get a second-rate experience other than whatever limitations your manufacturer has already put into the program. Another PSA there is, now that the vehicles with various charge port locations are out there, Tesla has, again, as Mark said, reminded everybody that they can, since they're already using up an extra stall for some of these charge port locations, so they can go ahead and park over the line into the extra stall they're using, and ask the manufacturers that, now that they've all switched to NACS, to probably put their charge port in a location that doesn't require double spacing. So front passenger side and rear driver side, just like the Tesla cars have. And the other part of that PSA is that now that they are here, you should probably treat any stalls at the ends, if there's a space next to the space at the end, you should probably treat them as if they were disabled access. Use this last, the blue sign with the wheelchair on it, just to make sure that if it is like a busy travel season, like say Thanksgiving or Memorial Day or something like that, that it may be empty when you get there, but you know how these things go. You turn around and all of a sudden the place is full. So just make it a smoother experience for everybody, and so that nobody knocks on your, hey, do you mind moving over one stall? You'd just already not be in the way.
Exactly. So that's great. The rollout has begun, and no one's been shot yet. So big plus.
Oh man, it's gonna happen. You just made it sure that it's gonna happen. Someone's gonna be taking 2 spots. Someone else is gonna come in and be like, I need to charge, and you're taking 2 spots, you jerk. Boom.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Just the owners. They've already had numerous fistfights. I don't know if anybody's been shot there yet either, but it's. Oh.
It is interesting that everyone's got. You've got to keep it in your mind that this is new for everybody. So, and of course, it's not saying that everyone in a Ford is going to be using this network immediately as well. Like they are obviously had some way of getting by to this point. A lot of them are still going to be using the old ways, and maybe Tesla charger here and there, or when they're in a situation where they have no other means. So this is not something where we're going to double or triple the amount of people that are waiting for charging. That's just not going to happen.
Just like
but it is a good point.
Owners, the majority of these other brands, they charge at home as well. You will have folks that bought an electric car and don't have home charging for various reasons. So you'll see an incremental increase in those folks, but you were already seeing it with the Teslas already. So if that's your local spot or that's your local condition, then you're already used to it, and just expect to see more friends there.
Right, and I think friends is the key word there. These are people who are driving EVs, and they're not the enemy just because it's not your brand. Right,
their money, like you said earlier, they're getting overcharged. So, or not overcharged, they're paying a surcharge. So that is helping to build out more stations. So you should be smiling when you see them come in.
Right, even if their charge port's not in the right spot and they have to back in or take 2 spots or whatever. They didn't design the car, so it's not their fault.
Exactly.
Be friendly.
Blame engineers, because they didn't know they would get access when they started.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't even think the Tesla's charging port's in a great spot. I don't. It's got its own issues, but it's the standard. So.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course they built the chargers for the cars they had. So
exactly.
Complete sense.
Yeah. I mean, right now, if you park on the street on curbside parking, the port's out in the street. That's not good. So I mean, none of them are perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's roll on to our next story, and this one's about the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Recently, a year ago, an RCMP detachment in British Columbia purchased a Model Y for their fleet, and they had released some information this past week about their experience with the vehicle. And I'm happy to report It's all positive. They're achieving the savings based on fuel and maintenance that they believed they were going to do with the car. Nothing has surprised them as in costs for that vehicle. So they're following the spreadsheet that they had collected from others to this point, and believe that the savings would be there. And after a year of use, they've basically hit the spreadsheet even. So that's great. Another group that did the homework and were able to come up with some savings that they were able to realize in the real world. So big plus there. And another spin-off of this, there was a town on the complete opposite side of Canada, Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. They purchased 2 electric vehicles, Model Y and a F-150 for their police department. And after a year, the mayor wrote up a little blog about their experience with the Model Y, and the F-150 had just come on about 2 months ago, so he didn't have as much to say about it. But had indicated that again, the vehicle was saving them $4,000+ a year when it came to maintenance and fuel. So they projected that out over the 4 or 5 years that the vehicle would be in service, and that would more than pay for itself over and over based on an ICE car that they would have in the fleet for the police department as well. And it was interesting that the mayor's blog, he took great pains to write in the blog that he realizes that EVs are not for everybody. And he realizes that in certain cases, EVs may not be the ideal solution. But he said, in our case, for our community, this vehicle hits all the buttons. So
Sounds like that mayor has an EV at home and has been in the trenches of the online world.
It definitely gave me the opinion that this mayor has been approached on several occasions by members of the community that have said, why are you wasting our money? An EV doesn't work well. The emissions are not at the tailpipe, but they're down the line even further. It's not as good to use as a regular vehicle. And I could just see that this guy has been peppered with these type of
2,000 miles over the river and through the woods.
I can't imagine his mailbox being filled with so many FUD articles that people, every constituent and their brother are sending in about slashing or slamming EVs in some way. But
pictures of an open pit copper mine claiming it's lithium.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
that was very tactful of him. That's one thing politicians are good at, is knowing how to deal with the public, especially some of the hate.
Something that they should be good at.
Right, should be. Right.
There are some that are not.
Mark, so the Canadian Mounted Police, I'm glad to see they're getting good results, but in their spreadsheet, did they have a column to compare to a horse? Because they're mounted police.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't think they were allowed to use cars at all.
Oh my gosh!
They're mounted in a car, Patrick.
Oh, so American of you. Terrible.
Don't they ride mooses?
Yeah, that's all they do. Yeah, they just ride a musical ride of horses. That's all they do. Yeah. There's no need for police in British Columbia whatsoever. They just ride around in ceremonial gear all the time.
I didn't pick the name. Come on. I think police would have been good enough, but no, they had to put that other word in there. So
It is themselves.
I did not expect that to come from you today. I did not expect that, I have to say. But
I got nothing but love for my neighbor to the north. Come on.
Well, here's an interesting photo I'm going to share with the group. Let's go here, grab this photo. Boom. This, of course, is on our Twitter feed at the Tesla Life, if you'd like to follow us throughout the week. This is a supercharger in Germany. And as you can tell, it kind of looks a lot like a petroleum sign, doesn't it? So
The
we've
first one
got
of these
It
style
does.
signs, I stopped ignoring the price now.
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah.
is- you're right.
So we've got a petroleum looking sign with Tesla on the top, and we've got the price per kilowatt hour listed. And then we have a lower screen with actually some QR codes that changes and identifies what's at the site for patrons to use. So it'll come up with specials about food that's available, about washrooms that are there. The sign's programmable, so it can be different for every location that you're at. And they, of course, have the great ability to update the sign electronically, not only the kilowatt hours, but what's available at the site. Maybe a weekend, certain things are not available, or more things are available. So this gives them the flexibility to show more information based on things that are changing.
My chief complaints when the food or the restrooms have closed, they can just not show on the sign.
Exactly. So I thought that was pretty cool. Again, I've noticed in my travels that sometimes, not all times, but sometimes if you're going to find a new charger in a new city or town that you've never been in, that occasionally you're looking for those Tesla Superchargers, you're looking for those familiar red and white units, and sometimes they're kind of low to the ground and blocked by other things that are there, and you don't necessarily pick them up quickly. I had often thought that maybe elevating a Tesla sign up above the parked cars and such would be a good idea at some of these stations, just to identify the spot quicker. Now, of course, it's on the map. It shows you what side of the building is if you zoom in, and you can actually do that. But
Yeah.
I have spent some time at certain new chargers I've never been to before, not really knowing exactly where to go, and missing the chargers a couple times where I had to do a lap or two.
And the navigation has this nasty habit of saying that you've arrived and removing the pin before you actually get there. Like you could be at a mall, for instance. You get to the mall entrance, it's just, you're there, and then
Yeah.
the dot goes away. It's over that way somewhere, but you don't know how many rows to go over. And the original Supercharger, I think it was at Hawthorne, it had the obelisk, and that's
Right.
that obelisk was there for very long anyway. But that was easy to find. My
Yes.
other ones that are a pet peeve of mine are the ones that are in parking garages where Tesla hasn't bothered or hasn't been given permission to put the little red tag signs to tell you how to get, like, what level and where at. Those and the huge parking lots where it's like, you're done, good, have fun charging, and like, where?
Yeah, so this would be good. Again, I'm surprised that, well, not really surprised for Germany, but the black and white kind of threw me too. I thought for sure,
Yeah.
why is it not red? That's,
Mhm.
it's Tesla's colors, but yet in Germany, it's black and white.
Well, the black and white is like their alternate color. They've been using it for a while.
But it doesn't relate to anything that we see on the
No.
outside, really. Is it?
Exactly. It does not.
Yeah. They didn't show a picture of the actual superchargers at this site. I'm not assuming that they are black and white as well. I've never seen that, if that is the case.
Yeah. Well, if they're V4s, they could be close to it because they have a lot less
There,
red.
yeah, there you go. I didn't think of that. The V4s are basically black and white with the red lettering only. So, yeah, that's true. Never thought of that. Just thinking of the V2, V3s, but
And the one was those stamped metal boxes.
the one was
Yeah.
kind of blocky, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of Cybertrucky.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Those were the days. I'm glad we pushed past the 90 kilowatts now.
Bring back a stainless steel version of V1.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Cybertruck, Patrick, next story is another Cybertruck story that we had seen. And
Ooh.
we got a photo of a Cybertruck in a certain undisclosed area that we will share with you. So there we got the Cybertruck actually plugged in. And looks like we've got a couple Ford vehicles around it. And this, of course, is in Dearborn, Michigan at the Blue Oval. So it appears that Ford has purchased a Cybertruck, brought it to its proving grounds, and will be testing the vehicle as time goes along. And
They need a markup for it.
Oh
yeah, what was that story about the markup, Casey?
Depending on which vehicle it was, there were a couple of these that sold for over 200,000, and this is the one that we Ford paid about $250,000 for this used Cybertruck, and took it immediately to the proving grounds. And you can see right there to the left, that's not a normal Mach-E there in silver. That's some kind of test mule of some sort. It's way up there, and what they're tracking it against being the Cybertruck could be Ford T3. Could be Lightning 2.5. We don't know, and it'll be fun to speculate until they put a proper topper on there, so we can guess what vehicle they're benchmarking against the Cybertruck.
Can you tell from the photo if it's a dual motor or a tri-motor?
If you had enough clarity, you could see the beast.
Yeah, not in this picture. It was taken with a potato. So
yes,
or 3 miles away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a tri-motor, of course, there is an etching that's in this corner of the tailgate with the three-headed wolf picture.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this picture is not going to be able to tell you that.
We need better spy shots, people.
That's right.
That's the problem. Is the drone armies around all the Tesla locations? They're not around Ford spots.
Yeah, why would they be at Ford spots?
Exactly.
The other problem we have with photographs is even the Foundation series etching is with a good camera. Like you can see it in people's 4K reviews. You have to like freeze frame and to see like where the sun hits it just right. It's a lot easier to see in person, but it almost never shows in photographs.
Yeah, that's a great point, JT. Is that they should have put on the Ford F-150 wrap, and it would have blended in perfectly. No one would have saw it with that wrap on it. That would have been a great idea.
Pretty good. Yes. Like, some friendly company. Like, hey, we can do the F-150 wrap on this thing too.
So hilarious.
Yeah. That would have been great to see. Or they call Tesla, hey, can we get your wrap, your special wrap? We'll take a F-150 into Tacoma if you can. That would be great. Yeah.
So while we're on that subject, you may
be wondering the Tacoma wrap
about to get raked over the coals by Tesla Legal, possibly, but at least one of these individuals tried the turn-it-in procedure. Tesla said, we don't want that back. And
so they got permission to sell it.
Well, it started like that. They actually made an offer, and the guy's like, I paid 100 and whatever thousand for this thing. And Tesla's like, here's our offer. And he said no. And they said, all right, well, you have our permission to sell it. And that was I think that's the $300,000 one. And
wow.
With the no flipping clause, I was wondering how it is that Ford's not the only one that's got their hands on one recently. So
yeah, Porsche is another one that apparently have purchased an overpriced one.
Mm-hmm. And then there's another one at auction somewhere. So at least 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a dealership in near Miami, Florida. They purchased one for just $244 or something, and they've got it on their lot now, selling it for $290.
Yes.
So
wow.
It's the Wild West out there. If you've got the money in no time, looks like you can pick up a Cybertruck if you want to. So
if you've got loads of cash and no patience, we have the deal for you.
Exactly.
The person who tried to sell it back to Tesla, they according to the terms, they should not be blacklisted. The other ones, if they didn't ask, not only could Tesla Legal be coming for them at some point, they also might be blacklisted from buying another vehicle.
I am kind of surprised that person that prompted Tesla would be. I thought for sure that Tesla would offer them an amount that they were going to say that's a fair value. You paid X for this. We're offering you this. If you want to sell it in the first year, you have to sell it for that price. But I guess that's not part of the deal.
It's probably said, we'll give you 60 for it.
Right. They're never going to offer the first.
Very nice.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They sometimes are the best deal, but they're historically, just like every other dealer situation, you turn around, try to give it back, and you're going to be insulted if it's before a year is up.
Yeah, I don't think I've run into too many people that have said when they tried to trade in their Tesla at the Tesla dealership that they said I was very happy with the trade-in offer I was given.
True, and that was only because they had already shopped around, and it was just either easier or it was like $100 to $500 better than everybody else was offering. And then combine that with the less hassle because you turn it in, they automatically move everything over as far as your accounts and everything to the new car. So yeah. So that's why I'm expecting their experience was very similar to what you already experienced. If you ever get them to, like, say you get a car and then the technology changes the next week, and you're like, oh, give me a quote, and then they give you the quote, and you're like, oh,
that's no good. Yep.
I don't want the used cars.
Yeah, exactly. They're not doing it for free. They're doing it for profit. That's all there is to it. So our next story is about a couple execs that we're well familiar of. We got Franz and Lars from Tesla have announced, it was pre-announced, that they're going to be putting on some sort of a talk about the Model 3. They're going to be presenting the Model 3's abilities in some sort of forum that is yet to be named for date and time. So this is kind of interesting. And I find it interesting as well because both of them appeared on Jay Leno's Garage just recently as well. And if you watched that little bit of film from Jay, they did a lot of that in this piece. Jay, of course, is asking certain questions, and they're answering based on their knowledge. They're walking around the car as it sits in the garage, and they're pointing out things and talking about updates, and they're talking about enhancements. And then they actually all get in the car, and Jay scares the life out of them as they are out on the highway. You kind of see the fear in Lars's eyes every once in a while when Jay hits the lightning pedal and kind of jumps it forward very hard, and wasn't really expecting that to happen. So, and of course, I have to say this: Jay's getting up in age, and you can tell that in the video. I love Jay. I love him when he was on television regularly. I like his car segment with his garage show, but he's definitely starting to get up in age, and you can tell by some of the questions and some of the reactions that he did. But again, it's a good piece to watch, and I'm kind of thinking that Lars and Franz are probably going to be doing the same type of thing with this Tesla sanctioned video that they're going to be putting forward at some point. There was also the option in the announcement on X that if you had questions, you could submit them to that X feed, and they would consider them as questions for the program they're going to be putting together. So
really good ones.
Exactly.
You wasted their time with this question.
Oh yeah, they'll be well vetted. Those questions will be well vetted. It's not going to be just let's bring up the question number 1. What does it say? You know, right? It's going to ask where do you like your favorite burger from? Like that's not going to happen.
Some of them were directed directly at Elon, and I didn't see him answering them. He was back on his political conspiracies. So
yeah. And this is another good thing is that we're starting to see some other executives that are starting to take the reins of not Elon being the only one that can talk about the company's products or the direction they're going. It's a plus that we've got some other execs that can start to handle some of these questions. Obviously, Elon's approved this, I'm sure, but it is good to see that Lars and Franz are out there on the circuit talking to others and answering questions because, you know, the Tesla community really was lacking the ability to have some of these questions even put to someone because, of course, Elon was the only point. And with Elon working for SpaceX and working on X and working on whatever else, his time is limited, and a lot of those questions went completely unanswered.
So and why do I say that? I don't imagine that anybody else could have been in the spotlight without his permission. Just based on what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Moto. How are you?
Yeah.
Hi. So yeah, it's good to see that we've got some others, and I hope some other executives start to come out of the woodwork as well and start to answer some of these questions, because it's the clarity that Tesla used to deliver on a regular basis in the early days is something I'd like to see them get back to.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, last week before he was back on politics and before he was at X and whatever, he was doing some Tesla stuff, and that was refreshing. And then before that was Starship, so that was also refreshing.
yes,
Yep. With Franz and Lars, we know they're not going to get off topic and start talking about world population or politics or whatever else. It's going to be about Tesla. Yay, the good part.
Yeah.
And maybe whatever partnership they have with SpaceX on like if they give us a hint on the next car, or how they got the formulation for the steel on Cybertruck or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, something relevant.
Got another little piece of information we can share here on the live feed. Let's go share this.
You help Mark push the button? Yeah.
We've got Sandy Monroe. Looks like Sandy got himself a Cybertruck.
Hey boys and girls, you're looking at the first Cybertruck delivery here in Michigan. We're going to be carrying it down real soon. I'd like to thank Tesla for letting us be the first one to have one of these things in Michigan. I'd also like to thank the Clarkston crew for getting it all ready for me and giving me a wonderful buying experience. Thank you all. And by the way, just to make everything clear, I did buy these. They are a Tesla present, okay? Anyway, stay tuned, boys and girls. It's going to be really a lot of fun. Thank you for watching.
Very, very forward if they were presents.
I love that he had to say, and by the way, I did buy this.
But yeah, he's also clarifying that he bought it from Tesla and not some flipper, which is also important.
Yeah.
I remember Sandy at the reveal event, the deliveries. He had indicated he was wanting to buy one from the crowd that was there, and then he quickly said, "It's got to be at the same price. I'm not going to anger Tesla by paying higher market value on one of their vehicles for a sale that happens in under a year." So we definitely saw Sandy was going to play by the rules for sure, because he's got this great relationship already with Tesla that was certainly shown by his ability to sit in Tesla headquarters and interview some of the engineers on day one. So he would definitely not want to danger that. So
right.
And as you mentioned, Casey, this is going to be really interesting to see when they start to tear apart the Tesla truck and see what's inside. How is this made? And I'm sure Sandy is just dying to get at this. And then a following tweet or X posting that Sandy put out after this was that looks like they picked up a Model 3 next gen as well. So
that one is all known from Tesla, so they had to return it in one piece.
Oh, so they couldn't tear that one apart.
Yeah, not that they're going to tear that one apart and return a regular Model 3. Just hope they don't notice.
But yeah, Sandy's definitely going to get paid for that teardown. You know, there are a lot of auto companies that are very interested in the 48 volt and the ether loop and the stampings and what's the load bearing shell called? There's just going to be so many questions that they'll answer.
Yeah, and that's why I suggested it would have been poor form if that was a gift and he tore it down and made a big profit off of it. That would have been not ethical.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen again. That's for sure. So
it actually if so Tesla wants the 48-volt architecture to become the industry standard.
Yes.
So much so that they actually wrote specifications and sent it to the other auto dealerships. If they think that that report could help move that forward, they might give Sandy one, and for that reason, not because they want to help Monroe and Associates, but because they have their own goal. Because when the Model Next or the Robotaxi or whatever comes out, they probably want that to be 48 volt because it does a lot of things for the vehicle. But right now, that's more expensive because it's not the standard. So you can get to economies of scale if you get the whole industry to shift.
Yeah, but that one
They think big picture like that.
It'd be like a Tesla event. It'd be like on X. It'd be like a little live stream for 15 minutes. They handed the key cards, and then they would follow up with here's what he's got to share. It would definitely be Tesla controlled if that was the case.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They would probably give him the truck and commission the report, and then want to give it away or sell it cheap or something. Yeah.
Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about Giga Berlin again. And we had talked about this not too long ago. In fact, it's kind of concerning. We had a issue of arson had happened at Giga Berlin recently, where they had to actually shut down production in certain areas and evacuate a number of employees from certain buildings or sections of the building, and in order to deal with the fire that was caused at I believe it was some sort of a power station area.
Yeah, the converter from the grid to the local site was the transformer there was sabotaged and set ablaze, and then after the blaze was put out, they found a note specifying that there was ordnance buried around. So basically, also a bomb threat, and so then they had to shut down production for the day, and Mr. Patel, he came out and said a couple of things that the Tesla Berlin team had sent him, including that how much water they use per car, which is so many cubic meters less than the average, what they're doing for the community, and how much they all like working there and that sort of thing. And it was a nice piece, and you kind of wonder, it's like, what are these people fighting for? Like, hey, they claim, right? And they keep setting fire to stuff. And I don't even think that these are the same arsonist groups that we're hearing about. It's like somebody's like, well, wait, they said they don't want fossil cars. Why do they not want electric cars? And I'm sitting there thinking that the folks blowing up the electric cars are probably the no car folks, and then the folks blowing up the Volkswagens and the Mercedes, they are probably the no gas car and the no car people.
Yeah, this is concerning. It's becoming something that's commonplace at this factory. It seems that there are a number of different factions out there that are working as hard as they can to prevent Tesla from achieving their goals. They're trying to prevent them from expanding. And at one point, they were trying to prevent them from opening in the first place. There was another set of fires that happened with electricity lines that ran through a forest that were set on fire previously before the plant opened. Just recently, just last week, there are now some protesters that are setting up in the trees with flags and lumber to basically stop Tesla from expanding the plant into another section of the land that they own. And this is, I just really wonder what's going on in Germany. Like it's such a different world than what it is over here in North America. As Casey mentioned, I can't understand why they would not want electric vehicles to start replacing ICE vehicles that are pushing pollutants into the air every day that they operate. I don't understand. And the Model Y, again, being the world's best-selling vehicle, period, being built in Germany, in your backyard, you're getting all these benefits to the community, to the workforces, that this is a huge plus for everyone around there. I can't understand why some of these people are are fighting this in these guerrilla warfare type ways.
Right. Like you would think they were an invading force, and this was like Vietnam or something. Mr. Patel, Rohan Patel, he's VP of Policy and Biz Dev at Tesla. He pointed out a couple of points that he got from Giga Berlin, including that the water production per car is 2.28 meters cubed of water, or 33% less than the average, which is 3.68 meters cubed. Basically, you just move the decimal place over a couple times, and you got the liters. This metric system is awesome. Mark knows about that. We might not hear. They recycle 100% of their industrial use water. This part, some people are asking, well, how come the power went out when they knocked out the transformer? They've got 8 megawatts of installed solar, but I mean, they're making cars, so they need a little bit more than that. And afforestation, you hear deforestation. I had to double check that was what I was reading correctly. And that's, remember we were talking about how they harvested the cardboard forest so they could make room for the building. This is where they're putting in the native hardwoods.
Yeah.
All of the stuff these people are complaining about the company and the building, like it's all addressed, and yet they're still just blowing stuff up.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get some of these radicals that and why why the community wouldn't be complaining about these radicals. Like it's something that's going to affect them. I can see why some other companies are not picking Germany to do anything in. If this stuff is commonplace, can you imagine what the pushback would be on someone that wanted to build ICE vehicles? And this is Tesla. We're building clean vehicles. It's
right.
I was looking a little bit into that because I'm like, there's no way this isn't happening anywhere else. At the Volkswagen plant, they glued themselves to the floor. So
yeah, and I'm sure that glue wasn't biodegradable.
Probably horse glue for all we know. For the no car people who are doing this, Tesla's pointing out that they have made it so that 3,000 of their employees don't even need to take a car to get into the factory. So they take cars off the road, and not some, but a good portion of these people, over 2,000 people, were unemployed either long term or short term before this. So like everything they're doing is good for the community.
Yeah. These protesters are giving environmentalists a bad name.
They sure are. I saw a lot of comments comparing them to certain folks that have been called red before in the past in the Asia region.
If any of them are listening, I have one thing to say: Elektrofahrzeuge sind besser für die Umwelt. There you go.
Okay, you've got to give us something on what that was, Patrick.
Elektrofahrzeuge is all electric vehicles. Sind besser are better for the Umwelt, environment. Electric vehicles are better for the environment.
Very good. Very good.
We're on our way to a future free from fossil fuels. That's what we want.
Yeah, he can't say that in German because he practiced the other one. He doesn't have that one.
Yes, I don't have that one ready to go.
He was too busy working on that RCMP joke. That was the problem today. Yeah. Wow. Well, with that, I think we will wrap it up for this week. Let's go with some shout outs. Casey, what do you got for us?
So on Sundays, we've got a what I call Let's Chat with Casey, and you'll see familiar faces come up through there. You'll see people that you haven't seen before, and then we'll talk about the news, some of it that I've read, some of it we react together. Some of it I didn't bother to read it because I was just reacting to the headline and had a point I wanted to bring up. Those are fun because, like, you see a one-sentence headline. It's like when you're in school and they give you a one-page story and they're like, give me 30 pages. Only instead of like, oh my goodness, what do I make up so this lady will get off my back?
Kids nowadays just have Chat GPT do
it. Some stories about the kids took the assignment as a prompt, pasted it in, and he said that a good majority of them, not only did everybody turn in the exact same paper because I guess they're using the free one, a good majority of them even left the disclaimer that you should rewrite this, or this is just for
That's
your
hilarious.
research.
Man.
Yeah, but you
man.
can find us at 1:10 Eastern on Sundays at youtube.com/Casey Green. It's KACEYGREEN.
Very good. Patrick, any shout-outs from you?
Yes, as always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org or Facebook or Twitter. I mean, X. We're out there. And I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. You can find my 6-month, 5,000-mile report for our Model Y and how much battery degradation did I have. You'll have to go check it out to see.
We will definitely be looking for that for sure. I want to thank Basm, JT24, June C, Derek for joining us in the chat room today. Appreciate that. Thanks for joining us and posting some comments. You can, of course, always join us and add your comments, and we can respond during the show on the live show. That's great. We really appreciate it. You can also follow us through the week at the Tesla Life on our Twitter or X feed, and you can follow us on Facebook with the Tesla Life #1, and you can see what's going on throughout the week. With that, we will part ways and get together next week and find out what's happening in the Tesla Life.
Stay positive, test negative.
See you on the Express Show, and then again here next week.
Thanks, Lee Moon.